Hello, friends. This is different than what I typically do in terms of recording. It's been brewing inside of me that I've been wanting to share for a while more of my personal experiences, more of the ways that I move through different pieces to help you in your own journey. Because I've gotten to this place on my journey where I've integrated a lot of these tools and practices and awareness and understanding of certain things where it's just sort of threaded into who I am and everything that I do. And I don't really think about it. But what I'm starting to realize is that it probably would be really helpful for me to share some of the ways that I move through different things, as well as certain things that do show up for me and how I move through them to help you on your journey. Because the truth is, whatever you are moving through, you are not alone in that. I say that a lot. While the circumstances might be a little bit different, the energy is most likely similar. And the process can be quite similar because this is the awakening process. And there's an equation to how it all works in terms of what you are experiencing, when it begins to show up, how it feels, and how you can best support yourself through that. And so maybe I'll coin this series like the process, because I think it would be, again, really helpful just to share how I move through things. So for today's episode, I want to speak to when you take that leap, when you trust and take the leap into the unknown of something big that you know is meant for you, that you know on a deeper level you're meant to experience. When you take that leap, but then what occurs after the leap? Because what will occur often will be a contraction. What will occur after we take the leap into something big, expansive, that's part of a soul desire, there will often be a contraction period where you then might start to shut down. You might start to question. You might start to doubt the leap. You might start to feel a lot of fear show up. That will be very subtle in some ways, not subtle in how it feels, but subtle in how it presents. You might not even realize it's fear in the way that it is presenting, because the ego works in very smart, deceptive ways to keep you safe in what you've always known, to keep you safe in the familiar, to keep you safe in the comfort zone. When you take that leap, especially if it's really expansive, it is going to bring up a lot of stuff, because it's one thing to take the leap into the unknown. Like, you do the work to figure out what that thing is, what that desire is, and then you take the leap. And that's like one part of it. And then the second part is, can you stay in that energy? Can you maintain that leveling up? And what I mean by that is, can you continue to expand into the piece that you take the leap into? Because sometimes what will happen is all of the fear will show up and we will contract, and we will sometimes go back into what we've always known because it feels safer there, or we will stay in this space of like limbo, one foot still in the old and one foot in the new, and it starts to get very uncomfortable because you start to stretch. If you're experiencing this, I want to say, one, this is a really natural part of the process. In fact, let this be your reinforcement, this validation for you that you're right on track if you are experiencing this. Because something I speak to a lot is the human experience, but also the soul journey. And it's not about just taking the leaps and getting to this place where, you're in so much expansion all the time that there's no human present, there's no fear, there's no doubt. No. But it's also not just being in the human and staying safe and comfortable. It's, how do we integrate the two? How do you allow your soul to guide you on the journey while also holding space for and validating and integrating your human fears, the doubts, the old repressed energy that shows up that could potentially keep you stuck if you don't know how to hold it and be with it. It's really important to know how to navigate this. And I want to share something that I have been doing, that I have been moving through, and speak to how scary it's felt, how deeply aligned it's felt. So there's the soul and the human, and what I've been doing to help myself move through this. So I would say maybe like a month ago, I started to receive deeper knowings within myself that, not even necessarily that I was ready to move homes with the kids. I've kind of been on the lookout for, I would say, like the last year, 6 months, of like a new home. A new home being just a new place to settle, because we have been in a townhouse complex for the last 4 years since I went out on my own from my separation, from my marriage. And this townhouse, the complex, has been so good. It's been so healing. It's helped me feel so safe being on my own for the first time. It's been so great having all the other kids in the complex and the families. There's community here. It's worked for us on so many levels. But I would say about a month ago, I started to receive a deeper knowing that we were supposed to, or we are meant to, me and the kids and Sal are meant to move to a place where there's more land, a bigger property. And, it's hard to say how I began to really realize it, but it was just this knowing. And one day I decided it's been years since I've done a vision board, because I started to realize like a vision board is nothing unless you know the feeling. And so when it's come to manifesting for me throughout my journey, especially over the last 4 years, I've just focused on how things have felt. And when I really feel into how something feels, often that piece eventually comes through. But I got this nudge to do a vision board. And I was like, this is so funny. I haven't done one in years. But then I realized, no, it's about doing the vision board so I can look at it each day and really tap into the feel of what I want that to feel like. So I knew when I sat down to do this vision board that I needed to really choose images that were going to provoke this feeling within me of what this home was supposed to feel like, and the land. And I'm going to put a picture of it here, just so that you can see what this vision was. And yeah, so I started to get this feeling of like, make a vision board so that you can look at it each day and tap into the energy. And so I went on Pinterest and I made this really great vision board, got these images, and I even put words into the vision board of like what it is I want to feel. I think the words were like space or spacious, open, cozy, grounded. I'm trying to remember all the different words, but it was a feel. Like once you see this vision board, you'll get where I was going with it. So I made the vision board and I was like, amazing, feels so good. Put it as like my screensaver on my phone. What's interesting too is me and the kids started to take a new route to school because there's so much construction. That was also the other thing, as I started to realize I was a bit too far from where the kids go to school. They started going to a new school this year, so it was even a little bit further. And there was just so much construction and it would take so long. And so we started to find a new route to school. And this new route that I found, which synchronistic, this is where it gets so good. It was in a random conversation I was having at this barbecue in the summer. And this guy started telling me about this route he takes into the same area I was going, where the kids' school is. He's like, oh yeah, it's like all through these back roads. It's farmland. It's beautiful. And it's totally, there's no construction. I was like, amazing. So I started taking that. Me and the kids started taking this new route to school. This was all like in the last couple months. We started to take the new route, and then I got this idea to do this vision. And what I realized was the route that we were taking to school, it felt like what the home should feel like. Some of these roads that we were driving down, it just felt so aligned. And the kids and I were driving one day and I was telling them how we're looking for I'm starting to look for a new home for them. And I was telling them, I had showed them my screenshot of the home, or like the vision board I had made. And we were driving to school, and they really love the drive with me. It's just such a great feel. And they're like, maybe it's in this area. And I was like, yeah, maybe it's in this area. This area feels so good. So now I've done the vision board. We got this feel. We got a feel for where we wanted the house, how we wanted it to feel. We're taking this new drive. Like energy, I could feel the energy starting to churn. I could feel the home in my reality. I just hadn't connected to it yet. And then a few weeks ago, I got this nudge not to check on Marketplace, which is where there's a lot of homes where you can check out. I got a nudge to check, to do a Google search, literally the area that I was looking and a house. And the first website that came up, I went to it, and it was the first house that came up. And I was like, oh my gosh, that house. And I went to it and I checked. It was in the area that I drive with the kids. And I was like, you've got to be joking me. This is wild. I was like, this is the house. This is it. I could feel it. And I contacted the people. They got back to me right away. They're like, come check it out. Also, less than the rent that I pay here, which is wild. And I was so excited. What was interesting was, in between the time that I made the appointment to go see them and when I was supposed to go see them, I started to have all this fear show up. Deep, deep fear of living on my own on a big piece of property with no man, with no protector. Who was I to think I could live on my own? Just so much fear. And the night before I was supposed to go, I sat with it, and I'm going to talk about some different strategies for how we can sit with fear. And it was like a whole experience that I went through. And then the next morning I woke up and I was like, man, I guess I was supposed to really move through that to prepare me for this house I'm going to go look at today. And then I checked my emails, and the property manager said it's no longer available. And I was gutted. And I was so sad. And for the next week and a half, I really sat with, okay, why did this show up? I obviously was meant to work through some of that fear. And then I was like, maybe I was just supposed to receive the energy of this home just to show me what's out there, to show me what's possible when we hone in on an energy we want to feel. And then I was like, yeah, that must be it. And then I really started to get excited about spending one last Christmas at our home with the kids, because this home has really been so transformational for me. It's been big. It's been big for how much I have healed in this home, and my nervous system, and just the energy that I've created in this home on my own, and the expansion I've moved through. So I was like, yeah, this must be it. We're going to spend one more Christmas here. And I did not force letting go of anything. What I did was I refocused on what was here now. What was the opportunity here now? Why might this not have worked out? What am I supposed to be seeing clearer? And in the process of that, I released this expectation that that house was supposed to be mine. I released it, and I grounded into this trust that the house was going to come through when it was the right time, when it was divine timing, when it was time on my path. And so I really rooted into that trust. And then about a week ago, I got an email from those people again, same house. The house has become available again. Would you like to come see it? And I was like, what? What is going on here? What is going on here, universe? But I trusted it. And sure enough, I went and saw the house, and I was like, oh, okay, this is it. This is the house. And that didn't come, like, when I went into the home, there were still some things where I was like, well, but it was like this deep knowing of like, this is it. Didn't mean that it was perfect, but number one, it checked off pretty much everything. And it was the energy that I felt when I was in the home that I was like, this is it. And I decided, okay, I want to be able to bring the kids here to make sure that they also feel what I'm feeling, not projecting that onto them, but just sensing into what they were feeling and coming there too. And so I told them, there's a house. And sure enough, as soon as I let them know where it was, they're like, we knew it. We knew that it was in that place. We called it. We created it. I took them to go see it. And I said, okay, we're just going to go check it out, see how it feels. And sure enough, they were obsessed. They were like, yes. And the cool thing is that, I could really see the vision in the home of like where things were going to happen, the vision of different things occurring, where Zoe was going to do her gymnastics, where the kids were going to play in the backyard, where Sal could run, having family over, a trampoline in the backyard. Like there was so much. And the beautiful thing was that there's also a family that's going to be living there, not part of where we will be living, but on the property. And so I won't be alone. But what's really interesting is after I said yes and everything was a go and everything got signed off, that's where the intense fear has shown up. And the last 3 or 4 days, I have moved through more layers of fear than I have in a very long time around this piece. Fear of being on my own on a big piece of property, fear of having no one there to protect me, fear of, and I have things to say about all of this because none of it is actually true. These are just perceptions of the ego, right? And things that I've been through in the past that are bringing up these fears. Like these fears are attached to old energy. These fears are attached to repressed energy that's ready to be worked with, processed, sat with, moved, shifted. Fears of who am I to think that I can do this? Fears of, gosh, just so much. And like really primal stuff too. Like I know this is not just my fear. I think that this is generations of women before me. And just like this primal piece of like survival, And so one, it's been very interesting just to see all the fears showing up. But I want to say too, just because fear is showing up does not mean that it's not the right decision for you. And when you can be with the fears, seeing your fear as a part of you that's showing up trying to protect you and keep you safe from maybe something that's happened in the past or maybe a perceived threat in the future, when you can see that this fear is just trying to protect you and you start to get curious with the fear, this is where things shift. Right? It was so interesting this morning when I went deep with it, this one fear I have of like being alone and not being able to protect myself. I had this one come up where I was so young and I was sleeping in my parents' bed and the window was open and there was this person that came running through our backyard that was running from the cops. It was like really scary for little me to experience that. And I remember my dad being there and feeling like, oh my gosh, my dad has to protect me. And it was so interesting to receive this old memory and be like, well, no wonder there's a part of me that's scared because she experienced that when she was younger. And so, this morning when I was working with this, it was about, what we want to do when fear shows up is get curious with the fear, right? For me, it was seeing this really young part of me, seeing how scared she was, staying with the breath, staying grounded and regulated in your body, because when we have a heightened response that shows up, the way that we move through that old trauma is we stay in the body, we use our breath to stay in the body, and we complete the cycle. Because when trauma is coming up, it's an unfinished cycle, and the energy doesn't fully cycle through, and it's unprocessed in the body, in the system. So when you have fear that shows up, you want to stay with the breath. You want to bring yourself back to a place of regulation. And so when it showed up for me, I said, okay, I see you, I feel you, I'm with you. I'm just going to bring it to the breath here for a moment. And I brought myself back into my body because I could feel my energy going up. I brought myself back into my body. And then I worked with this part of me that was showing up that felt really scared. And I oscillated between that fear and then bringing myself back, grounded, rooted in my body. And that's one of the most important things from a somatic lens that we can do when fear shows up is staying in the body. Because when we go through something that's really traumatizing, we leave or we shut off, we shut down. And so you want to be able to stay with the energy, keep it moving. And this is where your breath can be really helpful in finishing the cycle, in moving through the energy, in processing what is showing up that wants to be integrated. Right? And this is the other really important thing I want to say. Everything that is showing up for you is a reflection of what is within you. Everything showing up externally is a reflection of what is within you. This is how energy works. And something that feels really good, even take a person, for example. Let's say you really love something about a person. That is something that you either desire for yourself or you love about yourself, or you were taught was really good and acceptable. You were conditioned in that way, right? So when it's a good feeling thing, that's bringing up something good that you believe about yourself, about others, or that you want to be or experience. When it's a hard or challenging external thing, maybe in someone, that is reflecting something maybe you don't like about yourself, or a way that you were conditioned to believe or taught was bad about people or about yourself, or something that you don't desire for yourself. And so this is where, when you can become the detective of your experience and see that everything that's showing up is a mirror, and what that is bringing up for you, that mirror is meant to help you see yourself more clearly. And so if I bring it back to this piece of this house is really just representing an expansion for me into a new space physically in my life, and what I meant to provide for the kids and for myself. And everything that is showing up in relation to it, all of my fears, this house is just reflecting and bringing up those fears for me to be able to see more clearly. Why? Because those fears are ready to be worked with. Those fears are ready to be integrated. The energy is ready to come up and move and shift and clear and integrate, so I can expand into this next piece for myself. The house is just a representation of that leveling up energy. And I don't really actually know what's going to happen in the future. I try to be aware of when I'm really attaching to something. And this experience with this house was it was a great practice in that, because I realized that it's not about, again, letting go or forcing ourselves to release. It's about refocusing on what we can control, which is really our own thoughts, emotional experience, awareness, right? And it was in that shift of being able to refocus on, okay, what I am meant to do here is just really deepen into Christmas here with the kids. And maybe that's still the case. Maybe some things might not work out. I don't know. But what I do know is that what is showing up for me right now is exactly what is meant to be showing up for me in my expansion. But to bring this all together, everything that is showing up is always for you. There is always medicine in it, and it will always be deeply connected to where you're going on your path, to what you are desiring, whether you're conscious of it or not. And so the most important thing you can be doing is getting curious, especially if it's something that's really challenging and hard, is getting curious with, how is this here for me? Why would my soul choose this? Because your soul has chosen all of this for your greatest expansion. And so why would my soul choose this? How could this be connected to some soul patterns that I'm ready to shift, clear, and step more deeply into expansion? Right? This is where you find your power, your freedom. This is where you get really good at playing this game. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, this resonates, or you're feeling really stuck and you don't know where to start with all of it, or you're just trying to get clear on what it is you desire, like, how is all of this connected? This is really beautiful information, one that you can find in your Akashic records. So in the soul readings that I do with clients in the Akashic records, we're able to receive information around your karmic lessons, which are connected to your deepest patterns. That's where you find freedom, is through those patterns. You can find out information around soul purpose, the contracts that you have, the soul contracts that you have with people in your life. Like, there's such deep information that allows you to understand your journey and why it is you're experiencing and have experienced the things that you have, right? Going into my records has really helped me, especially when it comes to some of these pieces, understanding why my soul would have chosen to go through certain things throughout my life, understanding how they're connected to big themes that I have been meant to learn in this lifetime. This is also really beautiful work we can do in my one-to-one soul coaching. In my soul coaching, I provide a lot of different tools and strategies and practices to help you, one, connect deeper within your body into your intuition, but two, also build such a strong somatic connection in your body and with the different parts that show up to help you be able to work with things like fear, guilt, shame, anger, any type of resistance, and also really help you tap into what you desire and how to begin to make that happen in your life. So if any of this resonates, you can go to the link in my bio. You can book a session through there, or even just reach out through DM. And I'd love to chat with you to see if any of those could really support you on your journey. Thank you for watching. I hope that this video can help you. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment if you found it especially helpful, and I will see you next week.